Hello, and welcome to another lovely afternoon at the Grand Boulevard Coalition half hour. Our half hour is on drug-free community, which is what's behind me, and we have another great show for you. Hopefully everybody's dealing with this up and down weather, but we're going to get us through today. As I told you yesterday, we was going to have a very special guest representing the I Got This campaign and the Prevention Alcohol Abuse of Chicago Team PAC, and also a representative of Ann and Robert H. Lurie's Children's Hospital. So before we get our guests out here, I always have to do my pay some bills and go to a couple of overheads here. And as you know, before the month's out, we will have a prevention keys for healthy living. Let's Talk About It is our ongoing series of Bronzeville Speaks at IIT. It's for ages 11 to 24, and it will be coming up real soon. We're just trying to make sure we get all of our speakers and stuff in a row. So look forward to that. Again, that'll be Let's Talk About It under the Bronzeville Speaks for ages 11 to 24. And yes, if you're under 11 and you want to come, just bring a parent with you. We also like to thank our main and one of our great sponsors, the I Got This campaign, which somebody will be out in a second to talk about it. And we would like to let everybody know that there are people out there to help you, to teach you, help you, consult you in how you should talk to your child about not using alcohol, proper alcohol use, and if there's a such thing. But when our guest gets here, we're going to definitely ask him that question because he will probably enjoy that question. And there's 5 tips. So just make sure you go to the IGotThisChicago.org. Again, IGotThisChicago.org. And use the hashtag when you see it on the buses and trains and stuff, and let people know. Let us know that you've seen our banners. They'll be up through probably during CTA, the end of the year. And that's a hashtag I Got This Chicago. There we go. He's here. The man of the hour. Let's get right into it. Introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. My name is Ian McGill. I am the Communications and Community Outreach Manager for preventing alcohol abuse in Chicago teens, PACT, and also Strengthening Chicago's Youth, which is a violence prevention nonprofit, both in Robert H. Lurie Children's Hospital. I'm having issues today.
No problem.
Right, let's get it.
Well, let's get the first question out the way. Something really easy, so you don't have to worry about thinking about it.
All right.
Tell us who you are. I mean, we heard your name. We know where you are. How did you get to where you are? I know you did some undergraduate. You did some graduate. You probably got your PhD. And you still working on it?
I wish. Does that get too crazy?
Tell us about how you got to where you are today.
Going from today, I like to move backwards. So I've been in Lurie with Sky Impact since August 13th of last year.
Okay.
Prior to that, I was with the Illinois Council Against Handgun Violence for 3 years. So I helped run the education programs for that organization, focused on gun violence and issues surrounding that. Prior to that, I taught in Chicago Public Schools for 2 years. In the Back of the Yards community at Richards Career Academy, go Richards.
Yes,
Before that, I actually taught in Tok, Alaska for 2 years, and I taught 6 to 12 history, social studies there. Before that, I was in the military, Illinois Army National Guard for 9 years, and then prior to that was music education major at Western Illinois University.
Right.
So it's been a path for sure. Oh, and in the middle there, I finished my bachelor's at St. Xavier University in social sciences, which kind of brings me forward to where I am today.
Cool. You've done it all.
I've tried.
You should probably be retiring real soon.
I wish that were the case, but I still got some time.
All right. So you came on board at the Children's Hospital, or Lurie's, and they said we need somebody to really get the communication and the messaging out for the I Got This campaign, which is a 2-year campaign or 18 months or something like that?
Around 2 years. Yeah, I came in on the second half of it.
Okay.
So it's going till June or July of this year.
Oh.
So I kind of came in towards the tail end of it.
But it's the most important because you got to get that message out.
Yes, trying to finish strong, get the message of I got this, and this starting these discussions about underage drinking between parents and youth, and between youth to youth, and so it's good. It's good.
Sounds good. Well, why don't you just dive right into it? You kind of gave us an overview. So what was the premise behind it? The I Got This campaign, was it just something that the hospital there said, man, we really need to do something because alcohol use amongst teen is rising, or we need to educate them, or how will all this come about?
It kind of comes from what they call the IYS, or the Illinois Youth Survey. So the Illinois Youth Survey is a survey that's done statewide with youth, and it kind of just asks their opinions on just various things. Okay. So when it came to the topic of substance abuse, it kind of came to the attention that alcohol abuse is still something that happens, and it's not often talked about necessarily because you have right now we're in this kind of situation with marijuana, and what may happen there legislatively, but also opioids, cigarettes, vaping, all those things. But this was kind of something that kind of popped up as a there's a space that someone needs to kind of address a little bit more. So Lori kind of and PACT kind of come into that little void, and then the grand idea based around the survey results was to do this communication campaign. I got this, because a majority of Chicago teens are not drinking. Okay. And so the idea was to do something but there are some that still are. Right. And so to have a campaign that celebrates rather than having something that's negative and don't. You got this, right? A lot of you are making smart decisions, having bright futures. You got this. And for youth who may not have it, we offer resources towards cessation programs, such and all of our coalition partners, some of which offer various services. We kind of have in on this conversation, and also sponsoring because through the IYS, a lot of youth we're saying that they're not having those conversations with their parents. So it was a great opportunity to also kind of say, hey parents, here's some tips to have these conversations, which can be uncomfortable. I'm the parent of two 13-year-old girls, and I can tell you these are uncomfortable conversations to have sometimes. But just giving those tips, kind of giving this kind of positive message of you got this, go get it. And so it's good. It's good. I'm enjoying it.
Great. Well, you brought up one of our sector partners and one of your partners, the Haymarket.
Yes, absolutely.
Pat and her crew was here over the last couple of weeks.
Wonderful.
Talking about how important the Illinois View Survey is to finding out what teens are thinking about.
Oh, great. I'm glad I'm not the only one talking about it.
Yeah, so we've been talking about this, so this is the third, fourth week. I kind of weave everything together throughout the course of this segment, which ends at the end of the month. And so we kind of put the call out there and say, make sure you parents go to your schools, make sure they're being a part of it, because the next time they take the test or take the survey is 2020.
Yes.
And so we've done that part.
Oh, excellent.
And they said they didn't get to see the data. They get to see data in a weird way. If a school say, I don't understand it, they could go in and kind of explain it to them.
Yep.
Like that, so then they could see that data. Did you guys, from the hospital perspective, because you guys kind of did the Illinois Youth Survey overall for the city of Chicago, and this test schools on the north side, the south side, the west side, and the east side. I think I got all the sides. Mm-hmm. And so did you see any trends or anything in there? And that the state saw, which made them decided to have this campaign throughout the state of Illinois. Mm-hmm. And I know you personally maybe didn't see it.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say.
At the beginning, or they shared with you, because you're taking the ball over the finish line, so to speak.
Yes. Yeah.
And so they downloaded you on a lot of different messages.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
A lot of different things.
A lot of different things.
Like that. So I wanted to know any of that stuff you could share with the audience, any of that stuff that helped you, and make it personal, because you do have twin daughters, I think you just said, who's 13.
Yes.
Helped you in having that conversation with your children, or did you already had that conversation? So this just reinforced what you were saying and doing. show that you're on the right track and being a good parent?
It's funny because I did not have a conversation with my daughters around any substance abuse until after I started working on this campaign. So they actually live in Florida with their mother.
Okay.
But I visited, and then I visited, and this last visit I actually went for Christmas, and I had, so following, everything I'd read and heard about this campaign, I actually had the conversation, your friends drink, are you nip it a little bit kind of thing. But I've actually looked at the IYS, and when it comes to any kind of data, I kind of like get this look like, oh man, there's numbers, and to me it's almost like, oh, math is involved, and I back up, and we're very fortunate to have this amazing data specialist, Megan Larson at PACT.
Yeah.
But some of the things that just even my cursory looks, and I've been doing a lot of reading and such. It was like you were finding because it does numbers from within 30 days of the survey, 60 days, 90 days, such and so and forth. But there was kind of these where students were having alcohol, and then alcohol use can and you're seeing this in other surveys, even nationally, that alcohol can curve students into other substances as well, right?
Okay.
And so, like I said, it was kind of just like a void that wasn't necessarily being focused on by even some of our partners, because even in the broad spectrum of substances, a lot of people are focused on marijuana, a lot of it is opioids. And so there was kind of this, and it's funny because coming into this campaign, I actually bartend in the summers, and that's the strangest thing per se, but I bartend at all the festivals in the city. So, Lollapalooza, all the different Spring Awakening and such, and I actually see, firsthand, because a lot of times we'll check IDs
right.
as a bartender, and the Liquor Commission we've been partnering with through this and such, and talking with, and I'm actually you take the ID, and I'm like, so you're 22, my man. You're like, no. And I remember one day at one of the festivals, just in my tent alone, we confiscated over 100 IDs. Wow. So those are people who are not 21
yes.
at our bar actively trying to drink. And then you take that between 10, 20, bars. Yeah. And those, you're talking about a lot of right. teens who are attempting to get a nip of alcohol in the strangest of surrounding. Right. And so coming into that also with that kind of firsthand anecdotal, but kind of experience, I was kind of able to dive into this and feel comfortable and know that it's definitely needed. And so, yeah.
That's good. Okay. So you brought up two really good points. Now, one thing that my passion is opioids, and I do opioid summits mm-hmm. at IIT, so I always weave that into this conversation. But before I go there, with the new government in place down in Springfield, and two of our potential mayors are all for recreational marijuana. So I think the question I would have, do you think that'll pull youth away from trying to do what they were doing at the festival, where he was taking an ID and they would just go ahead and say, well, I'll do this other thing?
I don't know.
And don't let none of these questions put you on the spot.
No.
Thinking
absolutely.
For
sure. And hopefully, because as we go to the festivals, the various ones, I'm not picking on any particular festival, anyone, you see, everything. You smell and you see. And so it's interesting, and I know this is in the health community, it's an ongoing conversation about how will this potential legalization of marijuana look, mm-hmm. And what would that messaging look like with youth, Right. And I'm a former teacher, and so, I've had many conversations with youth about substance abuse, even in my classroom, because with social studies, that's a part of life, Right. And, students ask you, what's the big deal with having a drink or having having one joint or whatever, having a couple of hits, whatever. And I'd always say to my students, I say, look to the people to your left and your right. Do they make the best decisions when they're clear-headed? And you see them look like left to right, and I go, now, add substances that are going to change how they think. Right. How does that make you feel? And then they kind of look at each other like, oh, no. I'm like, and that to me, and your brains aren't fully formed.
Right.
So, God forbid you do something that may potentially harm formation of your brain, overall.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how I've always approached it.
Okay.
And within Lurie, I know that the marijuana conversation is going on, as it is with all the hospital communities and public health communities. But we will, I think we'll see sooner rather than later.
Yes.
So for sure.
Okay. And then, so let's weave on into the opioid conversation and see, again, a representative of the things that you're doing. What is the talk within your hospital community, inward or outward, about opioids and use among youth, and how the education should be better, or what do you see is missing?
Oof. You know, I know, I mean, because Lurie is so huge, and I know within a lot of the different segments, this is because, you know, we're constantly seeing and hearing about opioid use and the impacts, and so on and so forth. And I know, like, one of the things we've done within the last year with PACT, which is very fortunate, is our new associate director, wonderful lady named Jen Leininger. She also is one of the heads of adolescent medicine in the hospital.
Okay.
So they do a lot of work with kind of various forms of direct and indirect care around things like opioids and some different various substances. So we've been very fortunate to kind of have her come in and kind of link PACT to adolescent medicine. So now we can have this much more direct, open, clear dialogue between the two. And I know, like, you know, just substance abuse in general, opioids in that too, is something that they're working with, you know, working on, offering education about, and the hospital as a whole too, because that is obviously, as a medical entity that deals with direct medical care, they are seeing it, you know, in the hospital as well, with patients coming in and such. So in the whole entire Lurie community is something that's being dealt with in tons of various different ways. And with PACT, because we are right now focused on alcohol, it's not something we're directly engaged in,
Right, we don't
but
engage with the alcohol.
but with our partners and such, it's a constant piece of the conversation for sure.
Okay. Now, one of the things that I always talk about, and you're part of a bigger PAC or a big organization, is what these PACs are helping all communities, because you guys bring people from all over the city of Chicago and different communities together to discuss and share ideals, share resources to getting messaging out there, getting education out there. Where do you see that going?
Ooh, you know, it's interesting because before being a part of the Lurie organization, I didn't know about all the work they do, you know, as far as violence prevention, you know, dealing with healthy communities, just all the, you know, everything that's cooking in the, like, for example, the Injury Prevention Research Center. And so I think part of Lurie's ultimate vision is to just have this holistic approach to Chicago communities. And like you've seen that with the kind of the Heal Chicago kind of collaborative, I guess, that's going on amongst the different hospitals. And so from my perspective, I'm just, as a communications, community outreach person, really focused on, I hate always talking about it in the term of a brand, but trying to get our name out so people know that these resources are available. Rather, the resource is information about violence prevention, and we bring all these people to the table with Sky or with PACT. We're bringing all these different partners to the table, and then, you know, outside of our reach in the other parts of the hospital, they're doing all kinds of service all over the city, you know?
Yeah.
And I think even in my personal view, people can sometimes look at Lurie as this organization that's downtown, you know, a bit of a ivory tower, as this huge organization, but the hospital is actively working to change that perception, and they're doing a lot of work that a lot of people don't know about. So I think, and there are other communications people throughout the organization, and we're all working to get those messages out for people to know that, you know, all the things we offer. And so and I think that's going to be,
it's going to be major.
it's going to be good, right? We'll accomplish our goal. I have no doubt about.
So you talk to a lot of people like myself in my organization and different organizations, and we sit on different groups and stuff together. If somebody said, okay, you can have whatever you need to strike this problem and make it less. What are you missing? What tools would you say out here if a legislator or an alderman or somebody is watching today and they say, oh, okay, I see, that's interesting.
As working someone who worked with a previous nonprofit, working with this one, even though we are a part of Lure, we're technically, and I have friends who work at other nonprofits, some of which I look at and like, oh my God, you guys are amazing and powerful. They're like, no, we're small and we need money. And I think that's one of those things that nonprofits across the board, because a lot of our, not to get into the details of our funding, but a lot of our funding is grant based and such. Funders, money is always one of those things I think nonprofits need. And then other than that, as a result of getting your name out there or getting more support, finding people to support, and especially if those people are notable as well.
Yes.
So, someone who can say, check out this organization, they're great and they're fabulous. And then if we were able to get like 5,000 people checking our website suddenly, and learning about what we do, that's amazing. And so those are odd things, but...
Yeah. Well, no, social engagement is big, and we need
Yes.
people to go on your sites and look at them, just like they do the Kardashians or anything else.
Oh, that would be great.
But let's pause our conversation. We do
I'm
have a
sorry.
caller. Hello, caller. How you doing today?
Yes, and good afternoon, guys. How you doing?
Good afternoon.
Listen, and you always have good, interesting guests on your programs.
Thank
but
you.
I might misunderstood something that what he said earlier when you was talking about alcohol with young kids, with young children. I shouldn't say young children, teenagers. They sometimes have a misconception of alcohol, and they think it's just, a social thing to do. But do you ever state to them that alcohol is a drug? Alcohol kills. And a lot of times they don't really get that. Alcohol is a drug, and alcohol will kill you. Alcohol will hurt you. Again, sometimes, I'm a firm believer, you got to drive things in. If you have to drive it in to adults, you know what you got to do with children. You got to drive it in. That's why I always believe in, putting blocks with blocks, balls with balls, bats with bats. And that's what really helped people to truly understand things. And him and I, your guest, your host, him and I have spoke of things like that. I think it should be more people that with adults, you need younger people to speak to adults. I don't mean a kid talking to a kid,
Right.
or even a kid that went through the program, but I mean just a little, someone who came out of a program, because they get certified now these days. It's so easy to be a counselor. And sometimes that drills it in. But either way it go, I'm proud of you. You keep on doing the good work. You're doing what you can, and you're doing the best that you can. I want to thank you for taking the call. Let me get out there and hear your response, and y'all have a great day.
You too. Thank you. Yes. So.
Oh, the call is...
How would you respond?
Absolutely right. And I hope I didn't misconstrue or misspeak. Alcohol is a drug. It does end in death and injury and thousands of people every year. And it's one of those things that's not good for youth. What adults do, they have to account for themselves and such. But with youth, it's not a good thing to get into. It can be very hurtful from a health perspective, a social perspective, and yeah, absolutely, you're absolutely right, and I appreciate that for sure. That needs to be said for sure.
We're coming up on our last minute, so I just want to also address from the caller, and there's something that you said. The I Got This campaign does help adults to talk to adults about it versus, like you were saying,
Yes.
you trying to, being trained and going home trying to tell their parents about alcohol use and stuff. In the last 30 seconds or whatever we got, I always let my guests have the floor.
Oh,
What would be one point, one message that you want to get out there?
Oh my gosh. Well, just go check out the website. It's igotthischicago.org. Check us out on social media. Engage in these conversations with us, and then engage those conversations with your youth around you and other adults around you. And let's get this going. Let's get it.
All right, they give me the wrap-up sign. Again, 55 minutes goes so fast. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you guys next week, and have a very good evening.